Yes, hello. Hi. Hi. Tim, I saw that. Thank you for the sub. 17 months. What the heck? That's just a couple of days ago. You haven't been here that long. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Thursday stream. Jason should be here any minute. He's just enjoying a nice fine Pop-Tart. And yeah, and he'll be here soon. In the interim, I got walls that I'm gonna start painting on. Let's see here. Who we got? We got Paint Liquor, T Schmidt, The Huff, Streamlabs. Good to see you, Streamlabs. Right, Monologue. Oh. Rancid, what's up? Bro, one live and you guys completely elevated my face painting game. Heck yeah. That's what we like to hear. Excellent. That is awesome. All right. My body is ready, chat. My body is prepared. Preparated and prepared. Time to get a nice fresh palette paper down. Because, you know, I like to be fully prepared. Is it legal for a baby to host the stream without adult supervision? I am, in fact, not just a baby. I am also an adult. So I can supervise myself. Thank you very much. Devand. Devond. Yeah, I mean, if you can have people compare faces to real people, that's a good sign. Oh, hi. First stream you've caught at the beginning. Get all the painting done before I go back to work. Nice. The piano plastic? These? I don't know how to pronounce your name. But hi, thank you for your first time chat. Welcome. Cut at the beginning, get a little painting done before you go back to work. Heck yeah, you on lunch right now? I was on lunch. The Spain of plastic. A thespian. That, I guess that makes sense. That makes a lot more sense. I was like, is it the Spain? The piano with a weird S? Thespian makes much more sense. Yeah. Cool. Well, we're gonna paint some cool mans today. We're gonna make their armor more white again. So let's do it. We're gonna do it to it. We were just having a discussion about Diablo 4 and its somewhat rough launch. Game works great, but the details require a little bit of ironing out. And we were just talking about how much of a bummer it is to spend $70 on a game like that. I don't like paying to beta test games. I don't think Jason does either. But alas, we are here. Mixing up some bright warm gray and some glaze and wash medium. a little bit of water. And we are going to highlight this armor back up. Looks white again. Because we definitely killed all of that when we did all the washes. So we got to bring it back. Demand. Things I need to just finish 5 more Sanguinary Guards and finish my 30 Sanguinary Guards, Dante and Sanguinor for my Golden Death from Above. Interesting. All the stuff you guys have been posting pictures of it has been awesome. What's up, Songer? A lot of character models around. Bond. Just glazing this brighter color on here. Trying to bring back some of that brightness. Glazes to smooth everything out. Makes it look nice. Oh. Hear him. Hear him down the hallway. He has arrived.
I have arrived!
Look at that.
Except I forgot to use the bathroom.
Why did you go do that?
You don't see me, I'm not here. You don't see me, I'm not here.
He's just dropping things off.
You don't see me, I'm not here.
He'll be back momentarily. Y'all working on some fun stuff today? Or y'all just chilling during lunch? The baby needed an adult. Wow. That's mean. What have I ever done to you? Maybe don't answer that. Maybe? No, you just me. Nobody else here. T-Schmidt gluing the last bits onto your Questoris night. Nice. Tim driving as per the usual. Just hanging out. Sitting in a truck. Driving to Connecticut. Having too much fun. Or maybe not enough. Your mileage may vary. Needs to eat more bacon to stay awake? Is that a thing? People are weird.
I walk in on.
I don't know. Siobhan's saying that Tim needs to eat more bacon to stay awake.
Oh, it's Siobhan. Well, that makes perfect sense now. I've seen that man eat a plate of nothing but bacon with sriracha sauce on it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He's a piece of work, that guy.
That explains why he's been waiting for the adult to come supervise the baby. According to
what's going on, everybody? Hello.
We got him from the beginning of stream today.
Hello.
Yay.
I'm only 16 minutes late.
Well, to be fair, I was a couple minutes late, so realistically, you're only...
It's a hobby hangout.
Yeah. Looking good over there.
Yeah, I'm digging it. It's millions of miles of trim now.
Have fun.
Well, I'm gonna... Okay.
Hey, look, I'm not gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it. Horus.
Is that a thing?
Can't be as bad as Horus.
That's true. Horse was pretty brutal.
That was pretty brutal.
Not gonna lie. Source aloha.
Source. Aloha. Mr. Nerd.
Did you know that it's a law in Hawaii that you can't laugh loudly?
What?
You can't laugh out loud in Hawaii.
Why?
You have to keep it to aloha. I just hit all the cameras. I win. Thanks for playing. New high score. Is that good? Is that bad? New high score. New high score. Is that bad? What does that mean? New high score. What if I just collapsed and died right then? That was my legacy, was that joke.
I would be
both sad and happy at the same time.
I'd be very sad and very concerned.
Both sad and happy all at once.
And I would call Jen.
You would immediately call Jen and have her deal with it. All right, so there's a guy on the floor who tells really bad jokes.
No, I'll just say Jason told his final joke.
His final joke.
Thank goodness you weren't here to
I'm not going to repeat it, because obviously it was not good. It killed him. We may not get any normal feedback from Jen today on the stream unless the internet people get finished.
Jen is here.
Oh, she's here?
Yeah.
What?
I mean, she put a thing into chat.
Okay.
She put a store.
She did get her computer working finally, so.
Yeah. So it sounds like you guys have got internet.
Well, no, it's still the AT&T. It may be that the internet's working. She'll pipe in and let me know. Yeah. But she was using the AT&T, and I finally told her where to go get the cable to hook into the back of the hotspot that would let it connect to her computer better than Wi-Fi.
Got it.
Our house is like a pit of non-existence for aerial-borne information. Aerial-borne data.
Deep into the cloudy abyss.
I don't know what's going on over here with these settings.
I don't know. They've been like every time I turn the stream on, the settings are different.
He died as he lived, horribly. Wad, what's going on?
We got a wad. Good old tomato. Hey, Wad, I need some tomatoes. Trying to cook some dinner tonight. Where's all my tomatoes at?
Oh my god. Seriously?
You're in charge of all the tomatoes.
Seriously?
Wad is in charge of all the tomatoes. Wad tomato.
I don't think he would believe that. Has he admitted to this? Has he taken this mantle?
Wad? Please confer.
I think you're just bestowing this upon an unwilling participant here.
Nah, he'll be fine. Wad tomato will be fine. Whew.
So how's hump day? How's it going, everybody?
It's going okay.
I'm admitting you tell better jokes. That's never come out of my mouth once. That's lies, is what that is.
Slander?
Siobhan.
Slander, lies.
Siobhan doesn't know how to tell jokes.
Wait, did Siobhan say that they tell better jokes?
Yeah. They
I don't know about that.
He does not.
Wad, maybe that would be real if I knew that you were Italian, which I didn't. Also, what do tomatoes have to do with being Italian?
They invented tomatoes.
Okay. Or do they just like to take credit for it?
I mean, same difference, right?
I suppose so. Yep. I guess that makes sense.
And Tim, quit your bitching.
Whoa. What's Tim bitching about?
Connecticut. He's a broken record. Tim's like, everybody's having a better day than me because I'm driving to Connecticut. Wah.
I gotta sit here and talk to chat.
He likes to give me grief because I used to live there and I like Connecticut. He hates it. Thinks it's the worst state in the union.
What's wrong with Connecticut?
The traffic, apparently, which it is bad. But in that area of the Northeast, there is no such thing as good traffic. There's just various levels of crappy.
That makes sense to me.
Anywhere where the roads are older than some states in the union, you have to worry about how modern traffic is going to go. Did I see your message about Gaunt's ghost? No. Nope.
Mm-hmm. Two words defeat any complaints about U.S. roads, Scottish roads.
Oh no, I'm telling you, that's why I said any place where the roads are older than some of the states is bad. Scottish roads, even older. They predate the whole states. In some cases, we flew into Glasgow, drove to Edinburgh. That's not bad. Just a bunch of roundabouts. And then drove from Edinburgh, after spending a couple of nights in Edinburgh, drove up to Inverness, did that whole thing. And holy countryside roads. 2 lanes, like those pictorial, views of Scotland and the wet, grassy hillsides and the shepherds and their flocks and all that stuff.
Yep.
It's real.
It's real.
It's real and happens in modern times. It's not like just some pastoral recreation for a fantasy film. It's legit. You're on a 2-lane road that's barely big enough for a wagon, but is traveled by lorries and common traffic and shepherds with their flocks in the middle of the road. Like, legit, get out of my way, sheep. I'm coming through. I can't stand to be here for another hour. I got things to do. It was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I was like, this is real. Like, I didn't think this was real. This is real.
Exist.
I've driven all over Europe. And Scotland was by far... Scotland is one of the few places that I would move to, though. So there is that. Like, having gone all over the planet, if you ask me, hey, where would you live other than the States? Scotland would be on the top of my list. Although I know nothing about their politics, so who knows? Siobhan's just AI. Then you meet him and you're like, ooh. Walks around in his pajamas all day, confirmed. Has a Marine army where all of his Marines have body pillows with waifu on them. I'm not joking. Couldn't make this up. Reality is stranger. Truth is stranger than fiction in this case. He knows absolutely nothing about wrestling except that The Undertaker threw Mankind off the top of Hell in a Cell. He likes to espouse that, which, believe it or not, Siobhan, you are a legend, a living legend, because somebody in my office, right before the stream, mentioned you. They're dealing with a situation. They were going, I'm just going to pull a Rockstar Sanguinius. That's how they know him on Discord. And I'm just going to respond about the Hell in the Cell quote, to which I laughed. I thought that was brilliant.
So you working on over there?
You'd pick Sweden or Norway, Paint Liquor? Both neat places. I haven't spent enough time in either. The politics of both can get a little weird. But I like Scandinavian countries. Denmark's good too. Copenhagen's neat. All great places to travel.
Never been.
I am working on a Dreadnought. See? Haha!
I am working on painting Clone Trooper number 2B.
I was going to say Clone Trooper number 1562.
Yeah.
Hi, I am designated Ted. Never been, but you have a fascination with New Zealand. New Zealand was really crazy for me because I flew into New Zealand, and because of the time difference, I got there at like 2:30 in the morning. The hotels there, when they know you're coming from America, they just put like the key under the door, under the mat at the door. So that was weird, because that's not something you do in America. But they were there, got the keys, got in the room, slept a bit, went out for breakfast, and to me, I'm in New Zealand no time at all, right? This is like 0 time in New Zealand, because all I did was sleep a little. Now we're eating breakfast, and with the group I was traveling with, and in Auckland at a bay. I don't know what it is, but it's by the ocean and ship, not ships, boats, right? A lot of like private berths and fishing boat berths and stuff. And there's a restaurant there, and we're having breakfast, like a brunch. And the waitress comes up, and she's from Texas.
What?
Yeah, she's from Texas.
What?
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute. You sound like you're from Texas. And she goes, Houston. How'd you know?
That's hilarious.
And I'm like, okay, so first off, I'm in New Zealand. Don't need Texans. I'm a Texan, so I can say that. But I'm like, I'm in New Zealand. Don't expect nor need Texans serving me food. She was on her spirit quest, living her life abroad. Good on her. But it was very jarring to travel to a country you're very excited to go to and find your people. And I don't mean you had a kinship with the New Zealanders. It was that you found literally your people, like that your neighbor from down the road was serving you breakfast tacos by the wharf. It was like, what the?
That's so weird.
Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Finland are all on the top 10 list of happiest countries in the world.
Yeah, he would hate it there.
That's because they don't let them speak how they really feel. Yeah, Finland as well. We had a bunch of, one of the companies that I worked for, we had a bunch of Finnish engineers that worked there, and they were the happiest people ever. I took a trip to Finland with one of them, and their inclination for spending time in saunas drunk was amazing to experience firsthand. I was telling the gang here, somebody had mentioned Finland around the office the other day, and I was like, I went to Finland, sat in a sauna. They threw pocket knives at each other while drunk on vodka.
I remember hearing about
it. I'm like, wow. I sat there scared out of my wits because Finnish people are crazy, it turns out.
Like, I don't want to get hit by a knife.
Oh, yeah, source, and then they jump into the icy lake. Most of the saunas have, like, an icy lake nearby. The ones that I went to, because they were, like, family-owned properties, not, like, you know, community sauna. But, oh, it was hilarious. They'd run out, jump in the icy lake, get back in sauna. Do this multiple times. Heart-stopping frequency.
Did you partake?
I did go jump in the icy lake once. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't like that time of year where it was, like, going to kill you. So I felt a little bit more inclined to give it a go. It was still brutal. But I have to admit, right, it's like the whole thing where if you take ice-cold shower, not ice-cold, but if you take cold showers in the morning, it gives you more of a burst of the things you need energy-wise to get you through the day than taking a warm shower. And I'm okay with that. Jen, I still like a hot shower from time to time. But I do understand the need for it. So it does have, like, reinvigorating properties that are hard to describe to people that would not do that. But the whole vodka and pocket knives thing was a little disconcerting. Not gonna lie. Wasn't prepared for the fear in the sauna. Sounds like a really bad B-rate horror flick. Fear in the sauna. Sauna of fear. It stars Justin Timberlake's wife, because I don't ever remember her name, but I remember she's married to Justin Timberlake. He was in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Also the only thing I remember about her. Blood on the hot rod. Jessica Biel. Is it? No. Is it? Is that her name? Jessica Biel? Maybe so. Yeah. This is the part of the movie where we turn all the support locations into bullets. Knives and Sauna reminds me of that scene in Eastern Promises. Eastern Promises, was that the was it Vigo? Not Vigo Mortensen. Was it who? It was like a. I think I know what you're talking about. The guy with the tattoos. Russian gangsters, tattoos on their knees. Was that Eastern Promises? And it was Vigo? Okay. Look at me. Every now and then, one of my pop culture brain cells kicks into true form. It's been a heavy thought day around the office, too, so I'm surprised. Not gonna lie.
Heavy thoughts?
Lots of deep thinking in the office today.
True. Much deep thinking.
Much thoughts, very deep.
Much thoughts, very deep.
Avian, awesome. One of the few remakes you like a tad bit better than the original. I thought that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre with Jessica Biel in it was actually a good flick. I don't know how it was reviewed critically. I don't care. But I did watch it. It didn't have the same effect because, of course, being a Texan and being intrigued by the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from a very young age, that movie will forever be written on my brain cells. But it's one that if you go back and watch, it doesn't hold up.
Wait, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was a thing? Actual thing?
It was based on events that were supposedly true.
I like the subtle edge highlighting you got going on there.
It's the same color I airbrush. So what I like to do a lot of times when I airbrush up a base coat and go to highlights is I'll take the same highlight color because off the brush it'll be a little bit more vibrant than it was through the airbrush just because of the way the airbrush blends. And so it does give it just a little bit of definition.
Yeah, it's subtle, but it's enough to really like sharpen the edges.
Yeah, the intent is just to set it up so that when you go back in with your bright highlights, you already have a preset edge, so your edge highlighting looks blended too.
That's a
lot of times we forget to blend edge highlighting or have multiple colors on it, and so you'll wind up with too much contrast. Like we were talking about the other day, right? I call that the disco ball or Tron look. You know, it's just too much. And this gives you a nice subtle look. It's bright enough to give you some contrast right now, especially up against the darker areas, like right there that I just did. But when you get a brighter highlight on here, a lot of this fades into the background, so it doesn't stay.
I think it's a robot day.
Uh-oh.
I'm feeling robot days.
Look out. We've convinced him to no longer work on Star Wars.
I'm going to be honest, I was not feeling it today.
Not feeling it?
I was not feeling
it always sucks, right? This is a good thing to talk about. It's like when you're painting a model, whether you're doing a commission piece or whether you're painting for yourself, it doesn't matter. If you're not feeling it, back away.
Yeah. I need to grab the paints because I got all the pre-mixed stuff. I'll be right back.
Back away from the model if you're not feeling it.
Part of me wants to just experiment with a different recipe for the.
Uh-oh, chat. Color. Now he's going into his Baby J tailspin. I'm just going to redo it all. I think you like your colors, though.
I do.
But you don't want to mix so much?
Yeah. That's part of it.
That's a fair statement.
Like, getting just one color. I do like this color. Could also paint that tank. Although that would require me to airbrush, which
When you lived in rural Korea and you didn't have running water, I had to bathe by breaking the ice at the nearby creek with a rock during winters. I'm pretty sure I still bathe more often than people that go to gaming conventions.
Oh my god, that's so...
These are jokes he tells. These are jokes. Tim says, I'm getting into more. The second book really gets into building the characters. That was your complaint about it? Of Gaunt's Ghosts? The first book does a good job of giving you Gaunt. then the next books start introducing you to the ghosts. It's very methodical how Abnett steps through his characters, but the first book gives you Gaunt and lays out the Imperium and the setting. Those books aren't very long though, so. Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Psycho both were based on the crimes of Ed Gein. Yeah. That's the problem, Paint Liquor, is based on real events. Not really. You know, we know a guy did a thing. We're going to say he did it with a chainsaw. There have been, and they're not just, what do you call them? Urban legends. The chili cook-off with, like, human meat was a thing.
I'm returned.
He's back, chat. He's back.
Tell me about all the horrible things you guys have said about me. Just let it out. Let it out, everybody.
Where do we start?
From the beginning.
You're too positive.
Where all good stories should begin.
You're too positive. There, I said it.
Hey, look, you got a little bit of negativity from me this morning.
I did. He walks in and I go, Jordan, how are you? I'm standing at the front, welcoming everybody in, being really bright and cheery. And Jordan comes in and I go, how you doing? He goes, he takes the long pause. I'm okay. And I go, just okay?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, I'm dying.
Not quite.
And then we stopped listening to him because obviously he's not dying. He's still here. So. But yeah, what? You weren't your typical jovial self.
No. Sometimes you just get beat up.
So now he's saying you got beat up on the way to work. I'm not buying it.
I definitely did not get beat up on the way to work. That did not.
Did you walk again today?
No. I did not. I was going to, and then I remembered that I'm going to Samurai afterwards. I was like,
you're going where?
Samurai? Wednesday?
Oh, it's Wednesday for
Digimans?
Aha.
Paint Liquor. Nah, we let you have it yesterday. Today is chill. Nah. I just had a rough night, rough morning. Wasn't really feeling it. Feeling a little bit better now.
We have a very eclectic team here at the office.
Yeah?
With how everybody likes to come in the mornings.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing? What's going on? You have some people that are like, they take a minute, you know. I'm always preaching, you know, that you happen to life doesn't happen to you. You choose how your day goes, you know. I have those little droplets of wisdom to throw on people all the time. And so a lot of people like will take a moment before they answer me. And they'll be like, you can tell it's going through their head. Like, what's the right thing to tell this man right now? And so they go, I'm great. And they deadpan it. You know, I'm like, liar. Liar.
You're on chapter 4, Paint Liquor? Of book 1? Excellent. Paint Liquor and I are reading through Malazan.
So wait, you're cheating on me?
While you're stopping after book 1.
But you didn't even finish book 1.
I did finish book 1.
No, you didn't. Not this last time.
No.
So you're supposed to be reading book 1 with me, but now you're reading it with him.
Well, by the time he catches up,
he's cheating on me, chat. That's it. That's all I needed to know. That's it. Dead to me.
I'll have you know, I've been listening to it quite a bit over the last
Dead man talking.
Also, I've read the book 3 times.
Dead man talking. Yeah, but you said you were going to read it with me.
I
now
did.
You're reading it with Paint Liquor.
I did. Well, hold on.
Cheating.
Hold on now.
No, I'm not holding on. You're dead to me.
That hurts my feelings.
Well, it should.
I'm sorry I hurt your feelings.
I don't have feelings, but it should hurt yours. You made promises.
All right,
keep them.
Paint Liquor, we're off. we're halting progress.
I'm pretty much done with the book, and I have nothing but more complaints. So
more complaints.
More complaints.
What happened?
It hit me yesterday as I was listening to a part that I was really enjoying the concepts of again, that time is a big problem in this book.
Time?
The author comes straight out and talks about how this one character, the what's her nuts, you never can remember.
I know who you're talking about.
The Empress's agent. The woman starts with an A.
Adjunct. Yeah.
The adjunct has an inward facing conflict, right? And then she just gives all that up. And the author writes it off as being due to the time she's spent here. The book has literally been like 48 hours worth of time. But with this one character, he talks about how it's been years. Now, I know it's probably meaning to refer to years of service or something like that.
Yeah,
but it's so poorly written and it made me just realize there is no weight of time on all this. This whole book happens in what appears to be 2 days.
It happens over a pretty short period of time.
And yet he wants the weight of events to feel like they happened over long periods of time. He's trying to build a world where all this stuff is supposed to have built up over eons.
I think there's a lot of things that have happened to characters that they don't explain to you that he's trying to convey, which doesn't work very well.
No, he's horrible.
But
because I'm at the party, they just get rid of the tyrant in like a paragraph.
That is true. That does happen.
And that's unforgivable. Like, you just set up the big bad for this moment, and he just like walks into a hole. Right? Here's the big bad, the most powerful being ever created. Ta-ta-ta! Dead.
Yeah, he gets like pulled into the Azath.
A hole.
Yeah.
He gets pulled into a hole because they shoot him with a rocket. And in one sentence they go, "Oh yes, explosives from Malazan pull any open warrens into them."
What?
And that's his explanation.
Okay.
That's the MacGuffin. We've not talked about any of this ever to set it up, ever, in this book. I went back and tried to find references to this. None. They talk about the explosives a little bit, right? Don't talk about anything about them being anti-magic or anything like this, or being like magnets for power.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, as soon as Quick Ben sees him raising his crossbow with a explosive bolt head on it, he tells the witch that he's protecting to shut her warren down real quick, and he shuts his down too. And then, boom, blows up and drags the tyrant into a hole in the ground where Mother Earth hugs him real hard. That's what happens. Sorry, spoilers, people. Bad book is bad.
The storytelling gets better.
Bailey's like, I'm cooler than you, Fuse. You
cooler
probably
than
are,
you.
that's true.
What? Oh well, I'll just keep reading. Adjunct Lornia. It's really funny.
Avian, I think Last of the Jedi was better than Malazan. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it. I'm gonna say that I take the name Skywalker has more resolution to it than this book. Across the board. Mainly just to piss Paint Liquor off, but also because I'm so frustrated with this book that I am literally like 34 and a half of 35 hours into this book, and it is falling on its face harder than it did in the other previous 34 and a half hours right now. At a point where it was just amping up, where I felt like maybe I was going to get something that made me want to read book 2. Because I've been like, I'm not reading book 2. Paint Liquor says you're dead to me.
It's funny because Paint Liquor and I spent a little bit of time chatting about the series, and I got really hyped to read the series again. But the funny thing is, all of that happens in books that are not the first book. there are important parts that happen in the book. Meeting Tattersale is important. Meeting Perrin is important. Meeting Whiskey Jack and Foker is important.
Nobody's important in this world.
Oh, they're very important.
This author just makes stuff up and then supports it with sand. Funkadizzle, Udaman. I had a lot of fun supporting Kenny yesterday. I walked in there and I was like, dude, I'm going to make sure everybody in your chat is a subscriber. It looked like Kenny was having a rough day. We blew him up. Rise of Skywalker. Avian's referring to Snoke being unceremoniously taken out.
Oh, God. Let's
Still better than Malazan.
Nope. No.
Still better than Malazan.
No.
Yeah.
No. That's a hot take I'm not going to let you have.
Yep. Snoke's insta-death is still better.
No,
Insta-death at the hands of jilted lover feeling thing is still better than Malazan's first book. I'm not going to say the whole series because I only speak to what I know, which is the first book. The first book is not good. The series can be good, and it can ride off of the foundation that the first book lays down. Yeah. I've seen that happen lots with other series, right? Tim was talking about the fact that he's just finally starting to catch some momentum with Gaunt's Ghost because the first book didn't get him there. Totally understandable, right? This book doesn't make me want to read book 2, and I won't. I won't suffer through another 40-hour book of this author's horrible writing. I just can't do it. Yeah. Even if it winds up being good, I'll just miss out on that. It's fine. There was a point where I'm like, I really am intrigued by this world. But here at the end of this, not even because they got rid of the tyrant. They snoked the tyrant. That's exactly what they did. They snoked the tyrant. But the reason why I say Snoke was better is because Snoke was more frustrating the way it happened because they built him up much better in very brief little bits. Whereas in this book, they treat the tyrant and they give him these big sections of voice in other narratives, other people talking about the tyrant doing his thing, and all this stuff. They build the tyrant up, right? And do the same thing, right?
Well, I think they do that for different reasons.
Snoke, I think they never built up as being like omnipotent. They just had him feel that way, and you related him that way because of the old Emperor and Darth Vader, but you never saw Snoke do anything. Ever. Right? From watching that whole thing, and I didn't like those Star Wars movies, so don't get me wrong, Snoke, I thought, was just a false prophet type thing. He was able to keep control of people. He may have been a Sith Lord or whatever, but he didn't have power at that point, you know.
Hey, somebody likes us.
So I can forgive that. The tyrant was supposedly the most powerful being ever, did things that nobody could handle, and then they hit him with a crossbow bolt, and he gets hugged by Mother Earth, and he's gone. So, because he says, oh yes, this particular Warren and Mother Earth only come in times of dire need. Like, what a MacGuffin, dude. Like, seriously. Song of Ice and Fire series is horrible in your opinion because you cannot suffer through the first 3 chapters of the first book. Yeah, and again, right, in subjective entertainment, like books and even movies and anything, right? Entertainment is always subjective. It's the eye of the beholder. And you can find things that other people love but just don't resonate with you at all and actually have that anti-climax built in from the beginning. And you're like, nope, screw that, not paying attention to it. Good for you. Don't waste your time. But it's also relevant to other people. So I'm always, I would never tell anybody not to read Malazan because I don't know what you like. That's always a tough one, right? Because you might say, hey, what other books do you like? And they tell me. And if all those books that they like, I like as well, then I think your instinct is to say, oh, well, then don't bother with Malazan. You won't like it. But that's not true. That's just not how it works. Everybody can have their own. It may just be that right now I'm not wanting to read fantasy, That's happened to me in the past where I've tried to read fantasy books and I'm like, nah, but I'll go back and try to read them again and I'll be like, okay, it's much better than I remember it. Because I'm in a fantasy mood or whatever, right? Mo, what's happening, man? Sorry, I missed that.
I think if you ever get around to reading book 2, I think you would probably end up reading the rest of it.
You can feel the directors between the movies were shafting the prior work just in the sequels. Are we talking Star Wars? Yeah.
Man, those Star Wars movies are so rough.
Well, that's a totally different case, right? We talk about the theft of IP and that even owners of IP can steal IP. And that boggles a lot of people's minds when I say that. when Disney got a hold of Star Wars and Lucasfilm, even if George Lucas was sitting there saying, yeah, I really like the way the story's going, the way you're telling it, it's still a theft of IP in what the entertained, the community that has paved the way for you to be there by buying your product. And this gets into the whole consumer producer relationship thing that I talk about. If you produce content and people love that content, you cannot say that you as the producer are the reason that everybody loves your content, right? You can say that I put this out there, enough people liked it and talked about it and built this following with me that now we have this thing. That builds a relationship, just like you going out and dating somebody and going along the path to getting married or whatever you decide to do, right? Start a business, whatever. There's always that intent that was there. And as soon as you alter your intent, you change, I don't love you anymore. You're so different now. And that's what a lot of these things do. And that's what happened to Star Wars. It changed, right? It changed without a reason, without there being anything behind it. It just wanted to date new people. And so Disney wanted Star Wars as an IP to date new people. The old people were old and busted. They wanted to date a 22-year-old. And so they made the new Star Wars to make money with a new crowd. And hopefully it's done that for them. But they just jilted lover storied everybody that had loved Star Wars. Not everybody. Obviously there's people that probably stuck on and like it all. But I think by and large you see that with a lot of IP. And that's just the way it goes, because there is a commercial aspect to it. But I think a lot of people forget the commercial relationship is that your customers got you where you're at by pursuing and purchasing your content. And then when you just jilt them to go to another customer base that you think is going to be worth more, that has a feels bad to it. And it can ruin complete franchises, like it is kind of with Star Wars. Star Wars is probably still making a good amount of money, but it's failing more than not. And I think they're just throwing stuff at the wall to keep generating Star Wars content so that the franchise as a whole makes the same amount of money, but no individual part of it is making the kind of money that the old individual parts made. And so they're killing it with quantity over quality right now. And that's just kind of the general rule, right? Because it's all subscription based. It's all a bunch of nonsense. So
I think part of the problem with the new Star Wars stuff is Disney did the Disney thing where they're like, hey, we sell products and shows and things to children. And they're like, let's make a new Star Wars that's for children. It's like, well,
that's not. That's the easy, low-hanging fruit. But not everything Disney does is for children, right? Like the Marvel stuff is not for children. True. It includes children, but it's not the Cinderella. It's not the old Disney. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of what Disney's trying to do is become a household brand for all ages, and that's why they're doing all of this stuff. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's been that way for decades. They haven't been a children's brand forever. They still do Disney, and they have TV shows that are hell-bent and destined for kids. But I think it's too easy to say that that's what they're doing with Star Wars. What they're doing with Star Wars is putting what I would say, and this is a personal belief, very uncreative people in a position where they need a lot of real creativity. And by that I mean you have people that can steer a ship, but they couldn't build a ship. Right? So if you put them in there steering the ship, that's great until the ship needs repaired. Now they're no good to have around anymore, right? Because they don't know how to build a ship. And with Star Wars, I don't think you have anybody that knows how to build a brand at Star Wars anymore. That was Lucasfilm and a bunch of people that loved seeing where it was going, but it was still kind of kludgy after the first series. And now at Disney, you have people that only know how to, adjust the rudder. And they're doing even a poor job of that. But the ship's falling apart, and they don't have anybody that can put the ship back together. And, you get a little brief respite with, like, Rogue One. I think that even Andor was pretty good, except it was almost too slow of a burn.
I thought Andor was incredible.
Yeah, I think it was good. Incredible's too good a word, right? Because Rogue One was incredible. Andor was a stage below Rogue One. But it still was very good. Huh?
It's the opposite for me, personally.
Yeah. Andor was awesome, right? Yeah, because it didn't have, space wizards and all this stuff. But it also didn't, I think, as part of the franchise, didn't make as much money, right? So, people that aren't properly invested in the original IP. Oh, and that's another thing, right? Is that generationally, you start going away. I mean, the original IP was my day, right? I was 7 when the movie came out, right? And so, sneaking into the movie to see it the second time in 1977 was spectacular as a kid, and was part of the defining moments of my life was Star Wars, and then especially The Empire Strikes Back, right? Because that was when I was 10, I think, right? 1980. because they were 3 years apart. And The Empire Strikes Back was fantastic. And then Return of the Jedi I was really hyped for, and it was also very good, but it came a little campy with the Ewoks. And what they did there. It just flipped where they had gone from Star Wars to Empire to Return. Return was just a little weird. It felt a little out of place with the way they ended it. Still brought it all together and whatever.
It's like there's a movie that's missing between the two.
Maybe. There was a lot of time that seemed to just be, whatever. And I think that back then you have to remember there weren't a lot of movies that had sequels that took 3 years to put out.
True.
And so the movie industry was different in terms of how do you tell the story in the fact that we are picking up where the last one left off, but that last movie was 3 years ago in real time. Yeah. What do you do here?
Well, I mean,
and they're trying to pick up pretty quick after things. So I thought they did a pretty good job of that.
It's also back in the day before television really switched over. I'm talking about like syndicated television on like new TV networks. Before they really started switching over to doing like story-driven like story arcs, where things tended to be a lot more episodic.
Well, they were all based on the cliffhanger idea. That's where the whole serial thing came from, was, we're going to leave our hero dangling from a cliff. Tune in next time, because they figured that was the only way to keep people joining in for the advertisers, right? And so the storytelling might not have actually been very good. But yeah, I mean, then you started getting into times, because I mean, you got to remember, like, sitcoms they were episodic, but not storytelling wise.
Right.
You didn't care from one episode of Three's Company to the other what was going on.
Correct.
It was going to be an episode of Three's Company.
Yep.
Nowadays, you get 8 episodes that tell a complete story, and if you miss one, you're not going to keep up.
Yes.
And they found problems with that, which is why the subscription method and the binging thing works. But I think that's a whole different conversation, because I think that might be bad for television in general, because the binge watching kind of creates a scenario where advertisers can't reap the benefits like they can from you watching every week. And that's where the money comes from. And so now we get pay-per-view again, basically, which was a bad concept in its early days, almost as bad now. Jen and I laugh about it because it's like, we've had this before and most people haven't, and I know here it comes, okay, boomer. We remember when cable was exactly like what you get today. You had to sign up for HBO. You had to sign up for Showtime. At the end of the day, your cable bill was unintelligible because you added all this crap to it to be able to get entertainment. Then all these places like satellite started coming in and say, pay one bill, get it all. And now we're back to it's add all this stuff on. If you were to look at all your subscriptions, you got 15 subscriptions, right? It's horrible. So I think we've gone backwards with regards to that. And I think that the amount of entertainment we have has tenfolded, but it's the, 1 million channels and nothing to watch. Which is sad, because, with the ability to make such great content, with the ability to turn out such great special effects and all that, it's amazing to me that we were enthralled with Star Wars, because you watch Star Wars now, and without all the Industrial Light and Magic redo stuff, it wouldn't hold up, right? Because you saw all the weird contrasty light effects from frame to frame around the Millennium Falcon as it flew, but back then you didn't, because it was on film grain, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays in digital, it's like, oops, that's not going to fly.
I will say the one thing that holds up really well is animatronics and, like...
Yeah, sure. Some of that stuff looks really good.
Yeah. Especially now that they've found better ways to integrate that technology and make it look more real. Not to mention the technology of building puppets and things like that has gotten significantly better.
So, yeah, IP generationally may not survive, and I think we're seeing that a lot right now, because it's one of the first times that we're ever noticing this happen, And this is such a great conversation, because it really encapsulates so much of pop culture. It's like right now they're trying to rebirth all the old IP because they're not brave enough to make their own. Yep. So one of the reasons we're having to have these conversations in the first place is because Hollywood became a bunch of cowards.
Yeah.
They don't create anything new. We have Fast and the Furious 12,000. You know? It's like, what the heck? The only movies that used to do that were like, Friday the 13th. Because they knew they'd get the schlock fest horror movie lovers, which is great. They'd get their money at the box office. And it was very low budget to make those movies. Now they make Fast 15, right? And it's like just a tired trope. And then they talk about, now that they've finished Fast 10 or whatever the hell it is, and now they're going to make another one, but it's just going to be the girls. And I'm like, do we really need that? Not because it's just the girls, but do we really need anything in the Fast universe anymore? Isn't it time you make another one?
I haven't watched one in a long time.
Can we call the people that, and I'm not saying we need to call the people that created the Fast and Furious universe. I don't know who that is. I don't know that anybody really needs them to make another universe. It's like saying we need another Pitch Perfect. I say that just to make Jen cringe. Jen loves Pitch Perfect.
Oh, she loves it. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have watched Pitch Perfect 1 and 2 because I love my partner. That's my story and I'm sticking to it.
That's my story and I'm sticking to it. This guy.
But yeah, Hollywood has become cowardly by and large. There are still some really great movie makers. Don't get me wrong. But, they're having to go back and regurgitate old properties that made money, hoping to make money with them in the new age. And I'm like, why don't you just make new stuff in the new age as opposed to bringing back Star Wars and trying to revitalize that IP? Or if you're going to, why don't you... Star Wars is such a rich universe. Why don't you make new content?
Yeah.
Right? Why don't you forget about the Jedi and everything and tell us bounty hunter stories, Tell us really cool stuff.
I mean, that is what they're starting to do.
Ish?
I mean, Mandalorian is mostly just that.
No, it's about a Jedi. It's Grogu, or whatever his name is. He's a force-positive being, and it's the center of it all. Now they're trying to branch out and do things about the Mandalorians, right?
Yeah.
But now they've also said that it's not about the part people like. It's now any Mandalorian. They actually said that. That now we think the show should elevate itself to being about any Mandalorian.
Nope. It should just be about Grogu.
Well, you're going to be very disappointed because the showrunners have said that's going away.
Interesting.
I remember a hell of a lot of Seinfeld, Cheers, Frasier, Batman. Yeah. There's about 20-year cycle of new IPs, then massive remakes and sequels. And every time you point this out, you get ignored by whoever is complaining about sequels and remakes. What do you mean? Even both Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz were remakes of what? What was Wizard of Oz a remake of? I don't know this. Wizard of Oz was the first movie in color. So, and also based on a novel.
You might be talking about the novel being something that was derivative.
Okay, so, but nobody knows about the first Gone with the Wind movie, and nobody knows about the first Wizard of Oz because you're talking about movies that were done in a time where the movie was gaining its legs. So I can give them a pass, right? That's not rebirthing an IP. You didn't have somebody milk the Wizard of Oz and turn it into 4 sequels. That's what I'm talking about, right? If you want to remake the Dune movie like they're doing right now, great. Pay homage to the Dune movie and do it. Pick up where the last one failed to gain enough traction to do the books any justice. It didn't carry on long enough, right? Where's Children of Dune? Where's God Emperor and all that weird crap that comes after, right?
Did you watch the Dune movie?
Oh, yeah. The new one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good.
Okay.
Well, if you take Jason Momoa out of it, it's very good.
Yeah, I'm fine with that appraisal.
But yeah, no, I'm not saying that you can't rebirth and do remakes. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you have to be brave and make them well, right? And do it for the right reasons.
But also give us some new stuff.
Yeah, but give us new stuff, right? There was a time where I can remember everything, whether you liked them or not. All the movies were pretty good. All the big movies that were coming out were new IP. Now I come from a nerd standpoint of sci-fi and fantasy, so that's largely what I pay attention to. I was in the 80s and 90s as a kid. Obviously, action flicks were all the rage, But the Terminator was unique.
Yeah.
Whether you like Arnold Schwarzenegger or not. A lot of the movies at that time were unique. Now, smaller studios would try to rip off the Terminator and make money. That's just Hollywood, right? If you have a movie about a particular trope, you'll get 3 movies at the same time about the same thing, because the studios pay attention to who's greenlighting what, and they say, oh, we need one of those. Or at least they used to. I don't know if they do that anymore. But, oh, MGM's doing this thing. We need to copy that real quick and make sure that around the same time we have the same movie. Try to ride that wave because they got this actor and it's going to be big. So Hollywood's always been a little nuanced like that. Probably not a little, probably a lot. But to tell me that The Wizard of Oz is a bad remake is just argument for argument's sake. That's not true at all. Because nobody can even tell you the original Wizard of Oz movie unless they're a deep hunting Wizard of Oz fan or Hollywood historian. I don't know anything about that. Bakamaru, Hawk the Slayer. There's so many bad movies. Again, you don't have to like them. I'm just saying that they were throwing more original content out. And that may not be true. Quantity-wise, just pure quantity, we get more quantity now than ever before because we have all these subscription and really high-quality delivery services where on your TV at your house, you get equal quality to the experience of the movies in some extent, depending on how good your audio system is. So, boy, that was true though, right? Like when they came out with like Legend and Lady Hawk and that era, and then all the B-movie versions of those. Oh my god. So I'm saying you did. Oh, okay, but you were okay. You were actually saying it was your favorite. I thought you were being sly. New IPs that succeed tend to be on a 20-year cycle. I don't understand that statement. Are you trying to say that they get recreated on a 20-year cycle? Or that it takes 20 years to have good movies again? Because that sucks.
I don't want to wait 20 years.
Yeah, and that's not true, obviously. Successful IPs happen all the time. They just aren't IPs the way we think about it. You don't have to have IPs be franchises, and maybe that's the key of it, right? Is that not everything has to be a franchise. Not everything has to have a toy line. Not everything has to take those kind of standard visions of success and have movies made after them forever, kind of a thing, right? Scarface. Tremendous movie, right? If they ever made a sequel, nobody knows about it, right? It didn't have to be an IP. It just had to be a great movie, right? I think this is what gets all the people like the Scorseses and the directors of that age in an uproar about, like you've seen some of them speak out against the Marvel movies and stuff, and I like the Marvel movies. But, they kind of say the same thing. Not everything has to be a freaking franchise. You don't have to do 14 movies in order to feel like your movie was a success. But again, I think everything can exist in that world. But, trying to take the Marvel stuff and turn it into cinematic universe is a grand idea. And they pulled it off pretty well. I am of the camp that says, let it die. You did that. You succeeded. Now go do something else. But there's the engine of money milking that will continue to make that content for a long time. And they might strike gold again. If that's what your reference is that every 20 years, maybe they'll get it right again. That I could see. Did they make a Scarface sequel? Oh, it's an Xbox game? I don't count that. That doesn't make sense. No less than 6 Jaws movies. Yeah, I know. Yeah, because they would try to turn it into franchises and milk it. And I would say the same thing there, that Hollywood needs to start being brave and move on. Right?
Also,
they need to make their money back too, though, so I get that. And if you have a IP that's working well, right, and then you make money on it until it doesn't, and then you go away from it, though, right?
the crazy thing to me is that
You could say that about Alien.
there are some insane remakes, or not remakes, but sequels that get greenlit like years and years and years after the fact. And we know that these movies are bad. They did not do well. Talking about like Megalodon with Jason.
See, you'd be
Statham,
surprised, right? I think if you were able to look, because again, you get down to the part that we don't know about, or that you have to look up and think about in a non-creative sense, which is how much money did it make for money that you spent, right? Because that's Jason Statham, right? Megalodon.
Yeah.
So how much money did it make versus what did it cost to make? And that's weird. Because you think about it and you're like, who is the absolute maniac who thinks that movie needs a sequel? And then somebody will give you the numbers and say, realize that the original made somebody $50 million.
I'm
right?
curious.
And if they did, you're like, oh, so I get it. So again, like I said, you can take a franchise until it stops making money. Friday the 13th was like that. I couldn't believe that Friday the 13th made as much money as it did. Because it wasn't to my liking necessarily. I liked the first one, but after you told that once, I didn't understand why you needed to tell it again. That's just how I watch movies. But there's a reality behind lots of people enjoying that content, and so you milk the IP until it stops making money. But like I said, I'm 100% okay with that. I don't have to like everything. I'm not saying I have to dig it. I don't care. But when you take an IP that's no longer making money, and then you try to force people into a situation where, they're seeing it over and over and over and over again, just trying to make it work, forcing it. That's what I'm saying. Be brave. Create something new. Yeah. Stop it. Like Valendar's saying, maybe every 20 years you get the idea to have that IP be great again, just leave it. Put it on the shelf. You don't have to force it. Go do something cool and new. But they are very afraid to invest in new things. That's Hollywood talking, not me.
Yeah.
There's lots of information you can find out there about how people are like, you're not able to get greenlit at certain points in time because they're just not taking risks from particular people that don't have successes. Yeah. That's why you see a lot of directors you may or may not like taking over IPs you may or may not like.
So the Meg is what the movie is called.
The Meg, yeah. Which, by the way, was a book I read a long time ago it's one I found that got left on an airplane.
Oh, really?
That, was in the overhead library.
Yeah.
People would read books and leave them in there. And I read The Meg, and it was actually kind of a good modern Jaws tale. I wasn't mad at it from what I remember. I read it all the way through back when you held a book in your hands and read. And I remember The Meg being a modern Jaws tale with some, anthropology thrown in there about these large sharks I'd never heard about. So did it make money?
So it made 530 gross.
530 million?
Yeah, worldwide.
How much it cost?
100. So the production budget, I don't know exactly how much it cost to make it, but the production budget was 130 to 178.
And they made 5-something.
530.
So that's why there's a sequel,
mm-hmm.
Right? And that's the part that, again, sometimes we emotionally get caught up in the fact that why in the hell are they making Fast 10? Well, I guarantee it's made a lot of people rich.
Money. Yeah,
it's made a lot of people rich. Yeah. Right? That makes sense.
It's true. Very true. It's weird, but it's true. It's weird.
In the horror suspense side of films, you do have directors like Ari Aster or Jordan Peele that have been making some really good stuff, I'm going to assume you mean, with no franchise to it. in other ways. And that's what I'm talking about. You know, we call it indie filmmaking, but it isn't really indie anymore. It's just smaller studios or smaller greenlit things that are like Jordan Peele, that every movie isn't part of a franchise. He's just making cool stuff. And maybe sometimes it uses a trope that's in some other movie. That's when I think entertainment is at its best, right? Is that you're not copying, you know, you're not buying an IP, you know, you're not buying the rights to Marvel or buying the rights to Lord of the Rings and then trying to redo it on your own, right? How did the Meg do in China?
You know, it's actually funny. This is one of the drop-down questions.
Yeah.
49.83 million.
So a third of its budget.
Yeah.
A quarter of its budget made back in China. Phantom of Truth. Blockbusters that make a magnitude over their cost are rare. Movies that make their production and marketing still aren't the average unless something catches the geist. Most movies don't make money. Well, that's the same with the record business, right? I haven't worked in the movie business, but growing up in the record industry and running my own record company, I can tell you that it is baffling to most people when they ask me, what does it mean to get a hit? Like, what do you have to sell record-wise to get a hit? And in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I was doing it, if you shipped 10,000 copies of your record, it was a hit. And people would start treating you differently. Like the not only the label, but the people that were investing in music and the other bigger AR people and stuff would start paying attention to your band, to your label, to your stuff, if you were shipping 8,500 to 10,000 copies. And that was back in the day where shipping didn't mean anything because it was really how it sound scanned out at the other end, right? As they would scan the barcode at sale counter. But that order amount had a big weight to it because of the time it takes to actually sell through a record, because you didn't have the internet, you didn't have the ability to have a catalog on iTunes to look at and find out about new music quickly. You had to go to listening stations at music stores. Now that whole world has changed completely. And movies have changed completely to some extent too, and probably are going through that kind of a renaissance or whatever you call setback, whatever you want to call it, because of the fact that theaters are not the quintessential place to go find movies for the first time anymore. It's your couch.
Yep.
Right? And so the same way that music and digital music has changed the music industry forever, I think that we're in that revolution now for movies as well, and have been for a while. It's just taking a lot longer. But I think COVID was the final catalyst in that.
I would agree.
Right? And as unfortunate as that is for moviegoers and people that love to see movies in the theater, it now feels like it's almost like a rarity.
To go see a movie in the theater?
Isn't that weird that I'm saying that? But doesn't that seem that way?
I mean,
I see movies that I see the commercial for being out in the theaters. I see it available for me to buy on Amazon.
It's like usually very fast.
Very, like within a week.
Yeah.
So why would I go if I would rather sit at home? I mean, I still like to go to the theater for movies that I want to enjoy at the theater because of that. I've grown up with that experience.
Yeah.
So it's that dun da da. But I also love the previews and stuff, right? And Jen hates the previews. She just wants to sit down and watch the movie. And I'm like, dude, I wish the previews were 3 hours long, because that's like my favorite part. And then you're like, at the end of the previews, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm excited. We came to watch a movie. You know, sometimes I forget.
So the most recent one where that happened to me, where I was like, oh, I want to go watch this in the movie theater. And then I was like, oh, wait a second. It's just out for me to watch. It was the John Wick movie, the newest one.
Oh, okay. Is that 4?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, maybe I should use one of my movie tickets to go see it. And then I was like, oh, this has been out of theaters, or been on theaters for a while.
I bet it's on my TV.
Yeah, I bet it's on there. And then like literally like 3 days later, it just showed up.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh.
And it was.
I guess I'll just purchase it for $10, and I can watch it whenever I want now on Amazon.
You're a preview guy too. I love the previews, man. You can't stand post-COVID theaters. People have gotten worse at movie etiquette. Oh, you mean like talking during the movie and stuff like that? I just feel like it was a real big... I mean, obviously, COVID and the whole pandemic thing was a big catalyst for lots of change in societies across the globe in general. But I think, when we narrow it down to things like movie, it had a very negative impact, right? And because for me, Jen and I don't ever talk about going to the movies, ever. Not that we did a lot anyway, because a lot of what's coming out, for the exact reasons I'm talking about,
not interesting.
is not interesting to me, because it's just sequels and franchises and things like John Wick. When I watched the first one, was interesting. I don't need 4 movies of that. Now, that being said, this last one when I looked at like some stuff on YouTube, it was like, oh, that seems to interest me, which then got me caught up in, I should probably go back and watch the other 3, right?
Yeah. There's, the interesting thing about that series is, even though it's kind of the same movie over and over again. It does have
it has a story and a moving...
It has a progression of story to it.
Yeah, and that's what I watched. Is I watched a review, Should You See John Wick 4, and I just was late at night, clicked on it, blah, blah, blah. And the guy was like, as silly as he sounded like me. He was like, as silly as it sounds for me to be saying this, I think this is the best in the series, and it was worth me going back and watching the others. And I was like, oh, damn, And so I did, and I haven't gone back and watched them yet because I don't really sit in front of the TV very much anyway. But, I think movie watching has just changed. Valandar probably left because I think he was angry. But the reality is that everybody seeks for entertainment in different ways, right? They seek to get out of their entertainment different things. They view their entertainment in different ways. And no matter what facts you can drop, it doesn't change that, entertainment is not run by facts. Entertainment is run by emotion. It's one of the few things that you can stand on and say that, it doesn't matter how good it was, or it doesn't matter how much money it made, right? It wasn't a good movie, And that's a very subjective approach to talking about things, but entertainment's where that stacks up because nobody can tell you you're wrong.
Yep.
They just can't. They cannot prove you wrong. Whereas in the rest of life, that's exactly the opposite. It's like facts matter. But again, unless we define that a successful movie is one that made X amount of dollars, and then you can't argue that if that's what everybody decides that, okay, a successful movie is one that, brings a net revenue of X percentage of its budget to bear. And then you can be like, okay, well, it was a success, but I didn't like it. Right. And I think, unfortunately, right now, you see all this discussion, vitriol, division in talking about TV shows.
Yeah.
What the heck, man? Like, I should be able to say I don't like The Mandalorian and not have to deal with people saying they're going to pull my nerd card. Like, I just don't like it.
You're allowed to like what you like.
Yeah.
I am allowed to be confused. That's okay. I cannot understand why you don't like a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes you just never understand because, again, we don't see with each other's eyes.
Correct.
It's one thing to discuss the color red and have like this red that I'm painting and you saying that it reads more fleshy pink. It doesn't read as red as I would think. And I'm like, yeah, I can see where you're coming from on that. It's easier to negotiate those kind of conversations than it is to negotiate why I don't like Malazan.
Yeah.
I can put into words what I'm feeling, but you can be like, I don't think we're reading the same book. I don't think, did we see the same movie? Were we staring at the same screen with the same eyes? But I always come back to the thing. It's like, yeah, so ask the blind person how the concert was. And then ask the deaf person how the concert was. And then ask the person that didn't have any sensory impediment how the concert was.
Yeah.
And you might get 3 people that said they loved it, 3 people that said they hated it. So much diversion.
You have no idea.
And it's easy for you to say, oh, I get it. I get why the blind person didn't like the concert because they couldn't see all the visuals, the fire and everything that was going on that was lost on them, and I can see how that took away from the experience. Yeah, as a deaf person, you say, well, they couldn't hear it. They can just feel the beat, right? Yeah. And so they felt the beat, but the musical experience is different for them, so I get it, right? And then you can say, well, the person had the full sensory experience, so they saw the whole thing, so maybe you gravitate to them to ask, okay, I feel more like I equate to this person or whatever. You forget that that's every conversation about entertainment with everybody. Yeah. Somebody's the deaf person, somebody's the blind person, and somebody's the person that doesn't have any impairment at all. Well, and you forget that in conversing about subjective things. That's just the same way that all of us look at stuff. I see it with different eyes, hear it with different ears.
Well, I mean, another
taste food with a different mouth.
Really interesting way to think about it too is I cannot objectively look at the series without the information that I already have.
Right. And that's why I said
I know more about the series than you.
Yep. Well, you sent me to that guy on YouTube, and he made a very compelling argument, but he comes from a full base of knowledge.
What was his compelling argument?
Well, I don't even remember now because it doesn't matter to me.
Well, what was the argument about? Like, what was he saying? Why you should read it or something?
I don't even remember. He was talking about explaining the chapters in the book. It was that guy. He was talking about these things, but he comes with a predisposed nature of knowing what happens with these people later on. And he can say, this is going to be very important later. And he said that about 50 million times. And I was like, well, if it's not important enough now, I'm not interested. was kind of what I walked away from. I was like, it needs to kind of be important now so that I read later too. But again, it's just my perception on that delivery. I didn't like it, but obviously a lot of people do because it does well.
Yeah.
But that doesn't, like you said, that doesn't make one person's view of it any different.
No.
If you get into that, if you fall victim to that situation where you're like, well, you're an idiot for liking that, and you say it in anything other than jest with a very good friend, then you're the problem.
Yep.
You're why we can't have nice things.
It's true. It's true. I am not a fan.
You're not liking it?
No.
You were really liking it when you started it.
I was.
I like it. I think with the gold, it looks spectacular.
Trying to figure out what I don't like about it. I'm having trouble pointing it out of my head.
I hope I'm holding the trunk. Avian, you've read this book too. It's past that. You have the right to your own opinions, no matter how wrong it is. That's what Baby Jay says all the time. I get a chuckle out of that.
You're allowed to have your opinions, even though they're wrong.
Phantom, it is eclectic salmon right now, but yeah, my dirty reds without having to overweather it. The whole idea with my my Blood Angels was to be able to have a red that worked really well with the golds, was still warm, but was desaturated enough to feel like it was worn in a military sense without having to do battle damage on a bunch of Space Marines, because it wears me out. I love the way it looks to do chipping on Space Marines, but I'm not going to do it to a bunch of dudes. It wears me out.
I think the color is a little too monotone.
The green?
Yeah.
You don't find enough variance, like enough shadow? Maybe put some more shadow on it?
Yeah. It's also like really rough blends because I went back and like fixed up highlights with the brush and didn't spend a million years to get those blends really
smooth. Yeah.
So it's
a little rougher than you
like. Yeah. I'd almost rather like mask off all the metal and just repaint it.
Uh-huh.
Because I really like how the metal turned out.
I was going to say, your gold, it's going to suck to have to let that go.
Well, the gold's not a big deal. That's an easy thing to fix. I'm talking about like the silver. Like, I think this gun looks really good. I don't want to repaint it. I think all the under bits look really good.
Leave him the same and do everybody else.
Yeah.
And just weather the crap out of him to where the color doesn't really matter much.
That's true. That's true. Maybe I'll think up a new recipe.
He's the ancient, well, I guess in the heresy,
nothing's really that
nothing
ancient.
Was really ancient, but he can be the one that's seen it all. Doing Blood Angels for 10th Ridge, hoping to have them ready for LVO. That's awesome. Tim, is the stream repeating every minute or so? What? Like buffering and then going backwards in time? That's awesome. When you saw Ant-Man, it was literally a private showing for your brother and you. Oh, just because in the studio it was just you guys? Yeah. I can't remember the last movie we went to be honest with you. But I feel like it was very, very light attendance.
I'm going to be honest. This might be a hot take, but I really, really, really enjoy the original Ant-Man movie.
The first one?
Yeah.
I thought the first one had enough humor and stuff that it was kind of funny.
Yeah, I think that's the thing I like about it the most. Is it, for one, it's not tied into the big universe. It's just a campy, silly movie that's got some fun stuff to it. And I can enjoy it without having to think about the rest of the stuff.
It was kind of a good setup. I would go with you on that. It was not a character I cared about, so I gotta be honest. If it wasn't Hank Pym and the original telling of Ant-Man with the Avengers and all that, then I really didn't care. And they kind of relegated a lot of those guys to just being... They've done it with a bunch of characters, which I do like. I like the fact that Hank was the old guy. And here's the new guy taking the chalice. I have to admit, I think that's a good way to do it. I just didn't care about Ant-Man, really.
It lets you tell stories and create more new things up without stepping on toes.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good take.
Big project.
You're like, what do I want to paint? Not this.
You know what? All right. I'm just gonna paint some non-metallic gold.
Baby J's in indecisive painter mode.
Oh yeah, very much so. Especially today.
Scott Lang was also from the comics. I'm not from my generation, I don't think. Was there a Scott Lang in Ant-Man back in the 70s and 80s?
I shouldn't.
Not a thing I remember. There was a time when there was Yellow Jacket. Hank Pym. He wasn't Ant-Man anymore, right? Am I remembering that correct? Like they brought Yellow Jacket in. So maybe there was somebody else that had taken the Ant-Man mantle at that point. I don't remember. Again, like I said, not really a character that interests me too much. Yeah, I have a really big gap in my comic stuff because, you know, my stepdad was a big comic collector. And so in the 70s and 80s, we had tons and tons of comic books. And that era, I don't know if that's called the Silver Age of Marvel, or I don't know. I don't remember what they call it. But that's where most of my superhero comic stuff from those ages come from. I didn't stick around for it through the 90s or anything. I didn't care. Mainly because my dad stopped collecting comic books when my sisters were born. And starting in like, what was that? I forget. It probably would have been like 78, 80. So there wasn't a whole lot of collecting past 80, probably the mid 80s. And so I didn't really pay attention to superheroes that much. Then when I got back into collecting in the 90s, you know, I wasn't as interested in like Marvel superhero, the standard superhero tropes. There were some really neat comics out, you know, that were taking different looks at superheroes and definitely different superheroes. It wasn't just all Batman and Superman and Spider-Man anymore.
What's up, Gosu? How's it going?
So I went down that rabbit hole. You know, I talk about the Authority a lot and all the stuff that Image Comics wound up leading to and that type of stuff. Vertigo Comics. DC doing some pretty knockout stuff back then with all of the British writers. The British invasion of comics, so to speak, that bred the kind of the current way we look at comics. I feel like. So there's a whole age of Marvel that when I watch the movies and stuff, I'm like, I don't remember that. And people are like, oh yeah, that happened. And I, you know, it's just my own lack of knowledge of, you know, not keeping up with it. Like, that never happened to Spider-Man. Oh yeah. There were always times where I would try to go back in and collect some comics and find like Romita Junior and Senior, I think, got together on, I can't remember if it was Hulk or Spider-Man, but they did a series together that had, I think it was the Spider-Man with the old man that found him that also had the spider powers, and he was starting to learn that it was a mutation, not just a spider bite that did it, and that were many more people similar to Peter Parker. I feel like that was Romita Jr. and Senior. Senior just died. Yeah. Comic industry lost a legend last week. Great artist and visionary for comics. Yeah. Mike, yeah, just last week. Can't say he didn't live a good life. He had a good life. But Blanche just retired from GW, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's getting on in years.
He's been doing stuff for them for ages.
Since the beginning. Or pretty near the beginning. He defined that sketchy look, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they even... You've been in and out with comics? Yeah, me too. You know, just recently I went and bought a bunch of stuff. I was talking about it yesterday. I got the Nemesis bound edition. I bought a bunch of the Invincible series in the bound editions. I don't think I have all of them. That Black Science in the bound editions was really good. Saga in the bound editions, where I have most of the Saga, well, most of the beginning of the Saga series, which is actually really good. Kind of a weird, fantastical thing, too. You pick up collections from people on Craigslist. Probably a smart way to do it, right? You get a lot to go back into all at once. I have a collection. You want to buy mine? I'll put it on Craigslist. How much money you got? I showed a few pictures of my books to the buyer at our comic shop right down the street that Baby J and the guys go to play cards. And he was like, "Oh, I can't help you. You got to talk to the owner." I have a lot of really good books. Tim, is it still freaking out on you? The last movie you saw in theaters that you really liked, felt like I had a great time, was Grand Budapest Hotel. Ooh, that's been a while, huh?
I've never seen that. I
saw the Batman in the theater.
Oh, I did see that.
That may be the last movie we saw in the theater, now that I think about it. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Thought it was a good telling of, like, you know, year 2 Batman or year 1 Batman or whatever. Thought it was good. As a kid, you bought around 5 to 6 boxes of comic books from the 60s and the early 90s for around £5. Oh my God, that's great. They threw them in the trash. Oh, doesn't that suck? It's the one thing that I was smart enough to keep up with. I lost a lot of other stuff in attics and in my own family and friends' houses. There was a lot of times as a music kid that I'm like, hey, I'm going to California for 8 months to go on tour. Can you take all my good stuff and put it in your house, to a friend of mine? And that friend would be like, yeah, but I'm going off to college, you know, and their parents would take this box from this kid they don't really know and put it in the attic, and I'd lose a bunch of stuff. Comics, lucky, have always been something that stuck with me. I just recently, this is going to be funny. We're going to do this at the end of stream here. Watch this, chat. Ooh, those legs look good. Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't seen it yet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. I'm going to walk in front of the camera.
The other door opened as well. He magically opened the other door.
Air pressure.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm just grabbing a rando stack of comics. These are not boxed and boarded, people.
Oh, jeez.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Alright. You gotta full screen this.
So, all of my comics are here at the office. Every single comic is here at the office because we just moved house. You want me to go full screen?
Yeah.
I'll go full screen.
Full screen.
All right. So all of my comics are here at the office. I brought 12 long boxes plus a bunch of moving boxes full. And okay, so I want anybody who's a comic lover in chat right now to just kind of wind down a bit, just kind of not get mad at me, because I just grabbed a stack out of a box I just found that was in my closet at the old house that I hadn't touched in over 7 years. I want you to realize that these are not bagged and boarded, and I'm doing this on purpose to give you a mild heart attack, right? But we're going to start here. Right? We'll start here. This is kind of my whole collection. I have the Avengers from number 2 to number 161 or something like that. So, I
gotta go immediately.
I think this movie's coming out soon. Right? This is back when you had this Astonishing Tales Kazar number 18, but it was number 18 Astonishing Tales, but it was Kazar Lord of the Hidden Jungle. Here's Kazar Lord of the Hidden Jungle number 18, not Astonishing Tales. Don't know how that works, right? And the funny thing is, I remember every single one of these. As I throw these down, I remember reading every single one of these, right? I don't know what I oh, that's a good one right there, right? His name is not Namor, by the way.
Namor.
Look at that. Look at that. This one is Amazeballs. I remember as a kid being like, who are these guys, Dad?
Oh my gosh.
The Black Panther fighting the KKK, right? Right? Amazing stuff. Oh, I used to love me my Conan books. The Return of Red Sonja. Some more Kazar. These were the good days. Oh, this is such a good one. That's good.
You're killing Gabe. One comic at a time.
What years are these from? This one, I mean, the 25-cent ones are probably 76, 75, 1975. Right, look at this. Get a body like that guy. All you gotta do is mail this in because there's no internet, right? But yeah, I mean, these are in pretty good shape for just being in a cardboard box. These would still get like a 2.53, maybe 3.5 in comics grading. Pretty easy, just because of the yellowing. No torn pages and stuff. Covers are all in good shape. I mean, that's, I don't know. I would have to go to a Comics Trader guy. That might be $1,000 right there. I don't know. There you go. I got some good Iron Mans. Iron Man was one of my biggest things. My dad's biggest thing too. Right. So as you can see, tons and tons of Iron Mans. We might just be stuck in Iron Man hell now, as a matter of fact. Oh my god. Oh my god. This one I think is worth a lot. Unfortunately, it has a pretty yellowed cover on it. But this is, I think, the first Daredevil Iron Man combo. Because they're fighting against the Blood Brothers. Right? There you go. The Thing and Thor. That's 2-in-1 number 9. That's pretty good. There you go. The real Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. There you go. Cap and the Falcon. Oh! This is just... I need to bag and board these really badly.
Yeah.
I might come with you to Samurai tonight and buy a bunch of bags and boards.
You should.
Yeah. There's Hulk 200. Right? I have 2 181s, which is where Wolverine comes into play. One of them may be in here.
Did you not get a chance to sit down with the owners?
No, I never called them. Because I still had all this move stuff, and I had all the boxes. I wanted to bring it here and go through it all. Get it all bagged and boarded. If I sat down with somebody who was seriously going to make me an offer for comics and showed them what I'm showing in chat right now...
Yeah, it should be bagged and boarded.
Yeah, I need to bag and board these. Yeah. They're in good shape, though. Yeah, there's no real bad staple pulls on these, though. They're not horrible. They're all pretty decent.
Oh, that reminds me. I need to go to the
Lots of Cap
office.
and the Falcon. Was a big Captain America and Falcon fan. Of course, Spider-Man.
You're gonna laugh at me.
That's a really good one.
I need to actually go to the post office to pick up a comic that I got mailed to me.
Yes.
This
is one of my favorite comics of all time.
One of my buddies just published his first comic, and
oh really?
I bought a copy from him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There you go. Man Wolf. Creatures on the Loose, featuring Man Wolf. There's Man Thing, one of my favorite characters of all time. The real Morbius. There you go. Iron Fist.
That's such a good comic art cover.
Here you go. Marvel Spotlight, Ghost Rider. That's probably... Somebody look that up. That might be worth something.
Which one is it?
It's a Marvel Spotlight number 6 with Ghost Rider. And Mephiston, or Mephisto, whatever his name is, right? Death, cry the angels from hell. Call the Destroyer. I thought it was Call the Conqueror. But I guess maybe he changed names like Conan did. Right? That's very strange. Valkyrie fighting whatever that is. Here's a crazy one. That's one of the rare DCs that I have, right? I don't have a lot of DC comics. So this is Metal Men number 22. Here's the Flash, number 211. It shows you the difference between DC and Marvel. Like, this is from the same time frame, right? This one, this Flash is probably even earlier than those, right? July 1971, right? But they're already on number 211. Army at War. That's got some flipped over pages. This, by far, is one of my favorite comics of all time. I loved this. There were multiple copies. My dad bought one and I bought one. This is probably my dad's because it doesn't have the indentions where I put paper over it and traced it. Some of these comics have got the indentions because as I was learning how to draw, I would put like a piece of paper over this, notebook paper, and like trace over it. But it would of course make indentations in the book.
I used to do something very similar with manga characters.
Another good Black
and, like,
Panther
Dragon
one.
Ball characters.
And finish it up with a homemade torch. I could literally sit here for like 24 hours and do this to you people. So there you go. Second appearance of Ghost Rider. Yeah, exactly. Mike, yeah. We should just do a whole stream on the weekend where I sit here and we just talk comics. I would do that. I literally have millions of these out there in the room right outside the studio. Now that Baby J knows he's going to break in overnight and become a millionaire, it's literally like, I don't even know, but that's why, like, I just showed pictures like this of these kind of books to the guy at the comic shop, and he's like, I can't talk to you. You got to talk to the owner. So
I've dealt with Pokemon collections before. I'm not going to come steal your stuff.
This is all good stuff. But, you know, this is just like being alive at the time and my dad and I just loving comics. And a lot of times I would take my $2 worth of saved up allowance and I'd buy 8 comic books, you know?
Yeah.
He'd pay the tax for me probably.
It's,
you know?
It's the one thing I really wish I'd gotten into from a younger age. Like, I didn't really start getting into comic book characters until, the first time that I played HeroClix?
HeroClix, yeah.
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 Because I liked the game at the time. It was fun.
Sure. It's big.
And it really got me invested in the characters. So from there, I kind of started getting an interest. And then after that, obviously the Marvel movies came along. And got really popular.
Well, I do need to grab the one off the bottom here because that's Avengers 16 probably doesn't need to be it's one of the best kept books in this entire stack.
Yeah, it looks really clean.
Is Avengers 16. But I literally have Avengers from number 2 to like 163 with only maybe 1 missing or 2 missing titles. Now, Avengers 2, 3, and 4 are coverless. I have the cover, but they've been torn, and the cover looks like it was eaten by a dog. So, there's a bunch of them that aren't in very good shape. But, you know, hey, whatever. But whatever. Scan, bag, and board. I think you can do it with your phone, can't you? Can you scan what do you scan? So, like the old ones don't have anything to scan. Do they? Am I missing something? It wasn't until like these, right? Like this Avengers is probably 70, 71, 73. So, I don't know when the barcodes started coming out. So I have a bunch that are pre-barcode, but like, these are really yellow. 76. So probably like 75, 76, the barcode thing came. This one's, all the people are probably dying because they don't have bags and boards. 75. And it doesn't have a barcode either. Not on the back either. Not on the inside cover or anything like that. Oh, Newsstand had the barcode. What? And the other ones were comic stores? I don't know. We didn't buy from newsstands. So they must have gone to barcodes somewhere down the road with all of them. You collected comics but never read them. If you still had your collection, you'd probably be worth a decent chunk of change because it was all mint. That's awesome. Hulk 181 for 500 that was missing its Marvel value stamp and its cover. I've got 2 181s and 2 giant size X-Men number 1s, which is where they brought the new X-Men in. So those are probably 2, not knowing the value of comics anymore, I think those are 2 of my most valuable. And the giant size X-Men's I think are both over 1,500 a piece right now. They're both in really good shape. Those are bagged and boarded. There's a Hulk 181 that isn't bagged and boarded somewhere. Because we usually had 2 of everything because my dad and I would go to the comic shop and I would buy because he didn't let me read his comics. He kept his comics in a locked case that he would only let me in when he was there reading. Because he knew I was a kid. I was just going to tear him up. And he actually loved comics and was in his 20s, mid to late 20s, and wanted to make sure he thought this was going to be, he was collecting and reading it. He didn't want me touching his books and his comics. I don't know if they thought they'd ever be worth anything. 181 will probably get you a new car. They're not that, I don't think they're worth that much. But maybe. I haven't paid attention to it in forever, like I said. Gabe, if you come up front, you want to help me bag and board all this stuff? There's 12 long boxes out here. And then like 3 or 4 boxes of just like medium-sized moving boxes full like this that aren't bagged and boarded. Yeah. Here, I'll grab one more handful. I'll grab a handful that I know will make people mad because they're really in bad shape.
Oh.
Yeah.
These nerds. I don't know if you can hear them out there, but they're Hipster Gumby is googling a little bit.
This one's amazing. The top one is amazing, and I'm very sad that it's not bagged and boarded. This is gonna piss me off. Howard the Duck number 2. I have Howard the Duck number 1, by the way, but it's bagged and boarded. I know that for certain. But Howard the Duck fighting the space turnip. Howard the Duck comics as a kid were literally the best thing a kid could ever experience because it had stuff like the vampire cow, that he had to fight a vampire cow, that they gave a Count Dracula cape to for some reason because it was kind of a Mad Magazine version of the other stuff. They had a Count Dracula Marvel comic, and so they had this cow that had the Count Dracula cape on for some reason that was trying to kill Howard the Duck.
Cow?
Hilarious. It's cow, yeah. Howard the Duck number 3. Oh, look at that. Howard the Duck number 4. Number 6. Number 7, where he fights the gingerbread man. Number 8. Number 9. Oh, look at that. Number 10, Spider-Man shows up with the turnip man. 12. That's him. Oh. Hey, guys. I apologize deeply for the next 2 or 3 comics. That's Spider-Man number 32. It's not in a bag or with a board. I'm very sorry. There's Spider-Man number 33. Oh my god, dude. I just died a little. There's some coverless Spider-Mans. I don't even know what this is. Spider-Man.
This is a brand new fully loaded Porsche sitting in the office in the front room of comic books.
There's Spider-Man with no cover. I don't know what number that is. It says somewhere in here.
What's the big deal? They're only 12 cents.
Yeah, I know, right? Look at that. 12 cents. That's crazy, dude. Somebody look up what Spider-Man 32 and 33 are at not very good. Here's a bunch of them with no covers. I wonder where the covers went. Okay, so now I must have grabbed into the whole Spider-Man thing. Because now we got lots of Spider-Mans.
Which Spider-Man?
Spider-Man 32 and 33 are the ones that I had there that blew my mind that I still have those. Oh, this was one of my favorites, dude. This may be Romita. No, it's Gil Kane. Should have known. The Gil Kane era. He was fantastic, man. 104, 105, 106. I have big long runs of these things. 107, 108. I feel really bad that these are not in bags. Unless I have duplicates in bags, at which point in time I'm still mad these aren't in bags. Look at this. Holy fuck sticks. Excuse my French. Wow, dude. Is it all of this Spider-Man? Because I'm going to feel really bad. Yeah. This is all...
Aptifine. Penny, thank you for the sub.
Yeah, this is all just Spider-Man. This one is worth a lot of money. That's the first, I think that's the first Punisher. It's just sitting here unbagged and unboarded. I'm pretty sure that's the first...
Punisher. Yo!
I'm pretty sure that's the first Punisher. That's really good. Oh, look! Haha! Another Howard the Duck #1. Red Sonja. Spider-Man. Number uno. January of what? 74? 75. There's the king size. There's giant size Avengers 1. Lots of giant size Avengers. Oh my god. More blown out Spider-Mans. That one's...
Says bag that Amazing Spider-Man 129.
Yeah, I need to. I'm going to do them all.
It's $2,000.
I want you to know that that's a 10. Oh, and here's an 18. Boy, I should be fired. I'm fired. These are not in boards. This box, to my credit, this box was hidden.
This is making me cringe.
This box was hidden inside another box in our garage at the other house when we moved. So I didn't even know. I don't even know that in my head when I moved this.
Yeah, you should.
For the last few years that I knew what was in it.
You need to bag and board these right the heck.
Yeah. So this stack I feel really bad about. I probably shouldn't have shown those. Sorry.
Like right now.
Sorry. Right now. Yeah, because we had rats in our house, and the rats where they were coming out were right next to where all my long boxes were stored. No lie. I'm very lucky that the long boxes were so packed that the rats couldn't get into them.
That's wild.
Monument just stopped being a paint manufacturer, and for the next month we're going to be a sell all Jason's comic books company.
I mean, if you want help, I can help. Man, why is my blood pressure so high? Because Jason.
I'm an idiot. I literally am an idiot. That is like a ridiculous showing of what, and that's my whole collect. Well, not my whole collection. There's probably a couple of long boxes that are from later on in life when I started collecting things that don't have a lot of value. All the Image comic stuff. Some of those might be worth something, but my second round, but half of my collection or greater is that. My dad and mine's collection. I would be very happy
to help you with that.
We need it. We need it. Because the only reason it's in that shape is because I'm a lazy bastard, and I care more about Pro Acryl and Monument Hobbies than I do about boxes of comics.
Yeah. I
sell that to you right now for $15 and you'd cover shipping. I could sell that 129 immediately right now, no questions, for $1,500. I do that. See, the thing is I don't really care. I mean, I do. I'm not stupid. I know what I have, but I'm only looking to pass it along because I don't think I have the time or patience to sell it to end users for true collector's value. That'll probably all go to some comic store. I sent a note to the guy from Mile High Comics because he's crazy. He drives all over the country all the time. He's retired pretty much, but he drives all over the country and just buys collections. It's just my collection's not big enough to really be on his radar.
Interesting.
But it has books that might be on his radar if I get enough pictures of them. So hire a kid for like $10 an hour to scan all the comics into collectors and bag them. That's what I really need to do. I tried to get, when I brought them all during the move, I tried to get Christian, one of our guys who I know sells a lot of Pokemon cards and stuff for people. I tried to ask him, hey, would you like to, in your off time, work on these? But he doesn't feel comfortable with comics, so he didn't want to do it. So maybe I'll buy pizza and beer for people, and we'll all sit around and do what we're doing right now and talk about how a stupid idiot I am for having all these comics not in boxes. Spider-Man number 10 sitting in.
I would love to help you just to have the experience of like seeing it.
I can't believe that 129 is worth $1,500. It was in pretty good shape.
It's worth a lot, yeah.
It was in pretty good shape. But I think that's Punisher #1, basically. Because the Punisher didn't have his own series until much later.
Yeah.
He was always just a Spider-Man and Daredevil bad guy. It's one of the best things about nerd shit, the ultra rare collectible side of things that have so much nostalgia linked to them. See, for me, the comic book stopped being something I cared to read a long time ago because the headcanon in most cases is better than rereading the book, right? It's like that old movie that you would watch as a kid, you'd love it, and then you go back and watch it as an adult, and you're like, why do I like this? Well, I don't want the why did I like this part of it. Yeah. I want to remember that I loved this. I loved Howard the Duck. I don't want to read those comics.
Yeah.
Right? Because the comics are probably not that great. But I loved Howard the Duck as a kid, and I hold that emotion of Howard the Duck as part of my comic experience and part of my growing in fantasy and sci-fi world, because it was so... Howard the Duck was Guardians of the Galaxy that they've written as a movie now.
Yeah. Was
Howard the Duck. That's how Marvel told that story back then. It was him, cross-dimensional craziness, running into Galactus for no reason, but it's Howard the Duck, you know? So it's like it was the way they could be crazy inside a volume of comics that weren't necessarily crazy.
Yeah.
They're
crazy for their own reasons.
Yeah. Vampire Cow. You know, it just took aspects of other comics. And Spider-Man was a big part of Howard the Duck because he was that kind of weird loser kid kind of thing, right? But that's what it means to me. So I've kept all these for so long, knowing that some of them are rare and collectible, but more so than anything, they're just a part of my life.
Yeah.
But now I'm done with it. I want to sell them. So we're gonna bag and board all of them and get rid of them. Get out of here. I don't want to ever move comics again. They're heavy. They're like my record collection. It also needs to go. If you'd like to buy a bunch of vinyl that has amazing beats on it for sampling, call me. I have amazing beat records, some of which are as valuable as comic books. So Top telling Fuse how much his dumb books are so you can score a deal. Punisher's like, I'll give you some money. I'll give you $10.
I got money for you right here.
It's a guy for like video games and books you played 20 years ago. Yeah, I don't really want to go back and play the original Tomb Raider because it's visually and gameplay-wise not going to be as appealing to me, but it defined how I enjoyed video games growing up.
I remember playing that game.
It was so great. The blocky, Lara Croft, but the story was there, and it was one of the first games I remember playing that had a story that wasn't like Doom.
I think I remember trying to get that demo. Like, I had a demo disc for it that I tried to get working on my computer and it never worked right.
Well, that was back in the day where they were doing magazines. There was like PlayStation Magazine or Game Affairs Magazine that came with a PlayStation demo disc in it, but it would always be scratched because it came in the mail in a clear cat. The mailman didn't care. It was bent and broken. And but you put it in there and pray that it would let you run the demo. That's funny that I remember that. That's crazy.
It's funny that I remember that too. That's hilarious.
Mike, 15 long boxes that stay in a closet. Let's pool ours together and maybe we can get more money for all of it. if we have 30 long boxes, some of it will get the attention of people that actually travel around and buy comics at a good price. Otherwise, local comic stores are strapped for cash a lot of times. So
it's hard to get a local comic store to spend, 20
I need to bag and board and take pictures of everything and then put it out on the market feelers, and somebody will either find a collector or something that will just come buy them all. Because I don't want to have any of them left is my big thing.
Oh, yeah. If you buy one, you buy all.
I have all the big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1 to whenever they stop making them big.
Do you have any X-Men?
X-Men, yeah. Tons. Like I said, I have Giant Size X-Men #1. I have 2 copies of that, and that's worth a couple grand each. Oof. That's where they introduced Wolverine and the new X-Men. Yeah. The cover is the new X-Men, Nightcrawler, Storm, Wolverine, Cyclops, and Jean Grey, I think, busting through the front of the cover. That's really cool. The old X-Men kind of monochrome in the background.
What's it called again?
It's Giant Size X-Men #1. A New Era. It's like the quintessential X-Men comic book. Mike, I have the original Ninja Turtles. Like the whole series. I worked with them. I worked with Mirage Press. I did some art stuff for Mirage way back. Met them at a Comic-Con in Dallas, Texas, I believe. And I did some artwork for poster art and stuff like that of the Turtles. Just promo art. I never drew comic. I did 2 page panels in a book called Turtle Soup. That was a bunch of collected artists and writers that were going to do short stories about the world of the Ninja Turtles, and it never got published. I think they published one Turtle Soup, but it didn't have me in it.
Those are protected already, right?
What's that?
Those are protected? The Giant Size X-Men?
So you want... Oh, yeah. The Giant Size X-Men are protected.
I just looked it up.
What are they worth?
It ranges...
They'd probably be VG.
So,
very good. Nothing I have is any better than very good.
2,500?
Yeah, probably. That's what I think, about $2,000
each.
Yeah.
No. That's at a 6, which is I don't know exactly how the grading's
9.4 Eastman #1 going for $30K plus. Are you kidding me? So here's where you're going to get mad at me because those don't fit in normal comic boxes, but I made them fit.
Oh no. No.
So here's the problem with my big size Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Mirage Press did it on magazine. It's like a weird magazine size page because it was cheaper because the printer they had availability to. This is total DIY stuff. So when I was talking to them, they had to make it the big size because the printer they used couldn't do comic size at any price they could afford.
Yeah.
So they went with the paper they had. So that's why it was on big format. It was in black and white. But the problem is it's wider than the comic box. It's tall enough that it still sits in there and the top doesn't collapse on it, but it's too wide. So they're all curled at the edge for the entire spine, or I think they're on the open pages.
Throw up now. You're killing chat.
That's my job, chat. That's honestly why they're so rare, is because they're in there. You want me to see if I can go find one, Mike? You want me to ruin your day? Here, check this out.
No, Mike. What have you done?
Check this out.
You've No, please, no. No.
I probably can't find it. I can't get it.
An Amazing Fantasy number 15. I mean, he's not going to have any 9.5s, Gabe. I would say most of the stuff that he's got will probably hit like 4 to 6 maybe, or worse. Comic book grading guide. Let's see here.
Big J, want to know how to make grown men cry?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll show you.
Oh God. Oh God.
I think I grabbed a bunch of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's that.
Oh snap! There it is.
There's one of them.
There it is, chat.
At least it's bagged and boarded. There's I don't know what those are. Those are like not old ones. There's that. These are the reprints. Oh, I might have just grabbed reprint. Oh no, there's a big one. Oh, see, they're all kind of bent. That's the Raphael #1. Oh, there's the first reprint of 1 and 2. There's the real #3 and the real #4. You can see how they're all bent. I could probably put them under a bunch of books and that'd be okay.
I'm gonna be honest, that's not too bad.
Yeah, I can put them under a bunch of books and stuff.
Yeah.
But they're bagged and boarded.
They're bent, but they're
the one's boarded, the other one's just bagged. And that. Then they switched to smaller ones then. Right. 7 and 8. There's more in there, but yeah.
Yeah, the art on the OG ones was really cool.
Lighting it on fire.
Yeah, yes, T. Schmidt. I know a guy in Oklahoma that owns a pawn shop that will get those up 2 to 4 grades.
Jen says, is there an Antiques Roadshow for comics? We need to just talk. You know what we should do? We should talk to the owner of Samurai Comics. I wonder if that person would be involved in coming on stream just on a Saturday or Sunday. And just for fun. Like we stream on YouTube. We've been talking about doing some streams on YouTube. Maybe we do a stream on YouTube where we blast it out and we just go through my comic collection with somebody that knows the value of comics and just discuss. That would be really cool. I just don't know anybody in the comics world that's a evaluator like that. You know?
I'm genuinely going to do a lot of research tonight.
Yeah.
Because so when I got into doing Pokemon,
I mean, this is in pretty good shape.
That's in fantastic shape.
Yeah, well, it has some tears at the bottom.
Oh,
that's why I said it's got to be only good or
rough.
very good max, right? But yeah, it's been boarded for decades.
But when I got into dealing with graded Pokemon cards and raw stuff that would sell to get graded, that was kind of the fun part. It was like experiencing all the history and you know, figuring out what was worth what, and I don't know. I found it really fascinating, which is why I did it for
T. Schmidt says I've only been half paying attention for the last little while. Is that like $10,000 worth of comics that I'm casually flopping on the net? So I think it's fun for Jen to see this because I've told Jen, hey, she's like, when are you getting those out of here? And I'm like, hey, so I never know because I'm not part of this, but I go, those are worth quite a bit. But hopefully she's seeing in chat now that this could literally be like our retirement and she just doesn't know it yet.
Yeah.
Like there's enough here that could literally be like, if we had somebody and we took the time, could be like, hey, we probably could have just bought the house with our comics. I keep telling her, like, I mean, we could do the yard. We could do the yard with, like,
You could buy the yard.
I'm not trying to show off like that. I'm just like, this is a lot of my life. So it's very, on one hand, it's very frustrating for me to think about not having it anymore. Yeah. But then I have to understand I don't integrate with it at all. The idea of it is the only thing that I retain. I don't really touch these at all. This has been better than, for me, holistically, I think, going and grabbing them and having fun with you guys, showing them off. Yeah. I would love to do this more. If you guys are interested, I will do streams off of our normal stream time. I don't want this to be a Monument Hobbies thing, because it's not. This is just, I just happen to bring them here because we don't have a space at the house. But if people would be interested, I would go through it. We could lay a bunch of stuff down on the table. As I've shown you, there's nothing but more of this. But I think I'd really like to bag and box them first, or bag and board them first. Go down the comic nerd vault with us. We'll see. Maybe we'll do that. That would be fun. Maybe this weekend. Modern comics will overhold the kind of value that vintage comics have now. I feel like, you know, catching the lightning in a bottle is always a thing that I don't know that you can say, because you would have people that would be naysayers that would say, no, you'll never have that experience again of Superman #1, Action Comics #1, Detective Comics whatever, Batman, right? It's like, I feel like you get people that like that, but then, you know, you have Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird caught lightning in a bottle with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it was a stupid book.
Yeah.
Stupid book. It was funny, but it was just making fun of the whole, in reality, it was making fun of the whole Daredevil experience, because originally they got made when Daredevil got made. Because Daredevil got made by saving a lady from knocking her out from in front of a toxic chemical truck, or it was carrying nuclear waste or something like that. Yeah. And it wrecked, and bottles dropped out and blinded him and all that stuff, and he got his powers. They were in the sewer at that accident, right? And it dripped down into the sewer, and that's what got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And so it's very funny that it was just kind of a sideline thing. And then people made fun of him with, like, a prepubescent or adolescent ninja kangaroos or whatever it was. There was a whole bunch of people that then made fun of them. And so you thought, oh, it's just a fad, it's just a wash. But now somebody's telling me that it's worth like $30,000 if you have the #1 in good shape. So, I mean, there's something like that for every generation of things that are made, I think, in the collectible nature of things, right? I feel like there's always the ability to... Now, if you ask me that about coins, I don't know that people collect modern coins that have printing errors on them like they did for, like, the old pennies that had
I'm sure there are people out there that
double stamp or something. I'm sure there's people that do. I don't know those worlds.
The problem is there's probably not very many of them.
I always like to say yes. I think that there's always something being made that somebody might collect, because who knows what's going to happen. You know, we could write a chat-driven narrative comic book. I'll just sit here and draw random crap while you guys tell me a story, and we'll make a comic book of the story, and we put it up. And if one of us becomes a hero in public, then that comic could be worth $1 bajillion. Yeah. You know, we published 400 of them. Yeah. We publish enough for everybody in chat to get one, right? And then all of a sudden it becomes something super rare. Who knows? I don't know how that stuff works. Why did Spider-Man #1 become famous? Like, why did Spider-Man become famous? You never know when you're writing Spider-Man #1 that this is something that's going to work, right? As a matter of fact, when you listen to Stan Lee talk, he was like, they were just literally throwing things against the wall. They were just making things as they went. Ditko and those guys were just like, bam, let's do this. Hey, bam, let's do that. They have Batman, let's make this, you know? And who knew?
Went crazy.
It's these conversations that make you sad your dad wasn't a comics guy. Yeah, my stepdad is the reason for all of these. I mean, he led me into comics. I mean, obviously, as a kid, you would have loved comics no matter what. But the fact that there was an adult purchasing comics with a paycheck and bringing comics in and putting them in safe spaces so his son could not get to them is the reason that things like Giant Size X-Men and Hulk 181 exist in my life right now. I never would have gone out and paid money for these comics at a collector's kind of a thing. Yeah. I I don't think I have a single comic that I've ever bought with a collector's price tag attached to it. I don't think. Unless I might have... There might be one issue of The Authority that I bought for like $12 at one point just to make sure I had the whole collection because I love The Authority so much. But it was $12. You know, it wasn't like... Hank, Cannibalistic Mall Cop. Could be that chat. Yeah, that's... Oh my God, that would be so good. Hank and Lydia. Mr. Funkadizzle. Well, we painted a little bit, and then we got way off track. So I apologize for derailing us, chat.
Painted some, but you can't really tell.
Less of a painting show today than a have fun show. So I hope you had some fun. But we got to go. We do have work we got to get done before the end of the day. True. So thanks for hanging out with us, watching some paint dry, and watching some comics make people mad. Because they're, well, this one at least is...
please, keep it off the rails.
Keep it off the rails. But thanks for hanging out with us. Stick around. We are going to find somebody to rate. And remember, hit that follow button if you haven't already. Monument Hobbies, great place for nerd stuff, but we do also make great products, our paints, our brushes, all that great stuff. Go check out the store. Jen with the links there. Go check out the store. Take part in our wonderful world of hobby products. I think you'll love them if you're painting models and playing games. And then check out the Discord. Come hang out with us for more of this kind of talk. Maybe I'll throw pictures of my asinine comic collection up there too. But have a lot of fun. Stick around. We'll find somebody to raid. Remember, we stream 5 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like today, noon to 2, and then Tuesday, 2 to 5. So tomorrow we'll be here for Therapy Thursday, where we'll talk everybody off the ledge for me showing you old books with no bags and boards, and we'll do it for a little bit longer than normal.
Hopefully, some of them will be bagged and boarded.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if I'm going to do any tonight, but we'll go. I'll go buy bags and boards today. I'll promise chat that. I'll go to Samurai and buy some. But thanks for hanging out with us. Stick around for the raid. Love your faces. We'll see you tomorrow. Adios.